Hello authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode. Hello, authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is with YA and Christmas rom-com fiction author Katie Montinaro. And besides all things Christmas, she's going to be chatting to us about her books and hybrid author experience, social media and marketing strategies for independent authors, supporting local and loving your bookshop, as well as her tips for writing Christmas-themed rom-com and so much more. So in my author adventure this week, it's been a very publisher focused week. I've been busy finalising my non-fiction formats for freelance writing, quick tips for fast success, and author fears and how to overcome them. So I will be able to share those with you all shortly. But the good news is they will be out by the end of this year. And if you followed my author adventure since the beginning of 2022 or before, these books have been a long time in the making. The formatting of them anyway, so I will achieve that goal, which I'm very excited about. Not as fast as I wanted, but it is gonna happen. I'm also super excited about another series of books I've started building ideas around, but I'm not going to be talking about this here. This project will be shared with my newsletter audience only, so if you aren't already on it, please jump on over to the Hybrid Author website, which is hybridauthor.com.au, and you can sign up for your free author pass and get all the inside gossip on what my plans are for this new project in the new year. I just think I already talk on here about, my non-fiction, my children's fiction, and other projects that I seem to accumulate throughout the year. So this one is something, it's an experiment, I suppose, but it's also, different to what I'm doing, and I just want to see how it goes. So very exciting. So if you love the podcast or any of the episodes has helped you further in your author career, you can now pay it forward by buying me a coffee over at www.buymeacoffee.com/thehybridauthor. Or you can leave me a review on whatever platform you listen to the podcast on to help other writers like you discover the podcast. Let's all support each other. Katie Montinaro is a Melbourne-based writer and teacher. After many years of teaching her students how to write and craft narratives, Katie finally took the plunge and followed her lifelong dream of writing and publishing her books. When she's not writing, she can be found reading, enjoying the cinemas, or designing something for her husband to build around the house. Katie loves nothing more than hanging out with her kids and dog Arthur. Unless Jason Momoa were to call, she'd definitely prefer to go on a date with Aquaman. And we all join you there, Katie. Welcome to the Hybrid Author podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a bit more about who Katie Montinaro is. And obviously you had this lifelong dream, but how did you become an author?
Who is Katie Montinaro? That is a really good question.
How many personas does she have?
Exactly. I think it's something, it's something I'm still trying to figure out for myself. I'd say I'm a work in progress.
I love that.
That's who I am. But yeah, I think, in the introduction there, we mentioned that I'm a teacher, and I've only just recently left teaching as like a month ago. Been teaching for 15 years. So a lot of my identity and who I am is kind of wrapped up in that. So I'm in the process now of unraveling that and figuring out who I am without that teacher label. So definitely a work in progress, I'd say.
Yeah, so separating teacher Katie to now author Katie. What years did you teach at school?
Yeah, I taught high school. So
Oh, wow.
all the years 7 to 12. And yeah, and I really loved it and I still love it. But yeah, I'm doing something different now, which I love in equal measures as well. So yeah, just figuring out who I am. So yeah, work in progress.
Fantastic. So obviously with all your years of teaching and things, was writing a book always in the back of your mind? Like you had ideas and then were you writing while you were still teaching?
Oh yeah, I was an English teacher. So yeah, so creative writing and books definitely always in my mind. I'm an only child, so I grew up with having to use my imagination a lot. And it's just one of the things that I've always done. I've always told myself stories. I've always written stories. I've got laptops full of half-finished stories and finished stories and planners and notebooks full of ideas. And, part of my bedtime routine, if you like, I still can't go to sleep without telling myself my own little story in my head. Even though I read before I go to bed, it's just one of those things. I'm just always telling stories. So it was a few years ago where I had decided that I'd always been saying, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. And then I sort of said to myself, well, when am I going to do that? When am I going to stop talking about it and just do it? And so I think it was about 2017, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to do it. And I carved out time between being a teacher, a VCE teacher, a mum, and everything else that falls under that kind of umbrella of things that we do every day. And I just made time to write whenever I could, whether it was at school pickup, I would sit in the car, get there early, half an hour early and do some writing, or, before kids get up in the morning. I don't do that too often because I'm not a morning person. But, in the morning, if you wake up and your mind's buzzing, so just finding the time to do it. And I said I would take it really seriously and see where it would take me. And we're here with book number 2 now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's amazing. It sounds like, you started with just love and passion for writing and, storytelling, which you obviously kept to yourself, and then thought, hey, want to do this, want to write a book, gonna do it. And you obviously put all your energies and focus into it, which is great and lucky for us. So you have published 2 books, and The Girl in the Sunflower Dress and A Holly Jolly Christmas, which is described as a Christmas rom-com, and the one that we are going to focus on today. So can you tell us about A Holly Jolly Christmas? We're very excited, obviously, coming up to Christmas. All the movies are starting to appear on Netflix. So yeah, let's talk about the books.
Oh yes, I love all those sorts of movies. Like the cheesier the better at holiday time, I feel. It's so much fun. I think, Holly Jolly Christmas really came out of last year me really wanting to find a book that resonated with me about my own Christmas experience, but all I could find were these white Christmas romance stories, which are beautiful and I love reading them. And I read about, oh gosh, a handful of them last year, but I just wanted something that really reflected that Australian summer Christmas, because it's so different obviously to the white Christmas that we're all sort of conditioned to loving at that time of year, if you like, between the snow-covered ornaments in your shops and the Christmas movies and all that sort of thing. But I wanted something that was more my Christmas. So I sort of thought about it and I sat down, and over, December of last year and January of this year, I wrote down A Holly Jolly Christmas. And it was just one of those things where I thought, okay, what's some fun things that could happen? What are some fun things that could go wrong on a Christmas day? What are things that are uniquely Australian? And kind of put it all into a little book, something that I would like to read. And so that's sort of how I guess the book was born, if you like. And it was a lot of fun to write. And it's really exciting now to see people reading it and having a lot of people go, wow, yeah, this is like my Christmas experience. It's so nice to read, a Christmas story that's set in the hot summer and things like that. So it's been really nice to kind of get that feedback now. It's only been out for a very short period of time, like a week, 2 weeks. So yeah.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And I guess you're right. You don't really think about, like, I was born here, but grew up in Scotland. So yes, I'm accustomed to the cold and those kind of Christmases. And I really struggled when I came here because it doesn't feel like Christmas to me, but because I've had that, but now I've been here for so long, it is turning into that. But yeah, you don't really see much outside of that, do you? So no, I absolutely love that you've taken,
your real life personal setting and what you wanted to say, and then turn it in a book for everybody else to connect with and enjoy, you know, in Australia and other countries where it's summer for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole bunch of countries that don't get a white Christmas. So it's kind of nice to have something a little bit different. And I think too, you know, I selfishly like to write for myself first and foremost. So I was like, you know what, this is what I want to read. There's nothing out there that's kind of sort of what I want. So I'll just write it myself and entertain myself. And then hopefully, you know, it's good enough to put out there to entertain other people.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip though, because you know, you think of your target audience and in a way you maybe can and a little bit, but if you don't enjoy what you're writing as well, you know, and you're trying too hard to please somebody out in the abyss you've never met, I don't know what can come of that really. So no, I think that's a really good tip for people.
Yeah. Oh, look, we're the ones, you know, authors are the ones that you're with this book and this story 24/7. Well, at least I am. I know when I've got a story on the go, I'm constantly thinking about it. If I'm not writing it, I'm thinking about it. I'm dreaming about it. So if I've delivered this story and I have to read over draft after draft after draft, then yeah, I'm going to write something that I like.
Yeah.
And I know that there's readers out there that are just like me and will like the same books that I like. So the readers will be out there. But I think with spending so much time and energy into creating and crafting something, you really have to love it. So you have to kind of write something that you want.
Yeah, that's it. So you are an aspiring hybrid author, but you have independently published your 2 books.
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did you end up going down that path first off?
So, well, back to when I sort of decided, I remember having this conversation with a colleague at work, and I'd always been talking about how I was going to write a book. And he just sort of said, it's like, just do it. Just like, there's no perfect time. Just go and do it. And I was like, yeah, like what's sort of stopping me? Let's do it. And so just, you know, because it's that easy, of course. And so I really sort of sat down and I did a lot of research and really planted myself in both the indie community and the traditional publishing community. You know, I tried to make genuine connections with people and learn as much as I could before I decided which path I was going to take. And it was during lockdown. So in Melbourne here, we had like the longest lockdowns over COVID in the world. And one of the silver linings, I guess, of that was a lot of things went online. And so I actually put myself into the CYA conference, which is normally held in Brisbane, but it was online due to lockdowns and things like that. And that put me in front of 2 literary agents and 2 publishing houses in Australia. You kind of book in and you send them the first 10 pages of your manuscript and get feedback from that. And so, of course, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is my opportunity. This is, you know, things are going to go great from here. and they did. I got a lot out of it. And so I did that and I got my feedback from those 10 pages and I got really great, really encouraging feedback. And one of the agents wanted me to revise the first 10 pages and send it to them. And so did a really big sort of publishing house in Australia here. So I did that and I thought, oh, here we go. And then I heard back from the literary agent and the publisher, and they had both said they wanted the first 100 pages of The Girl in the Sunflower Dress. And I thought, oh my God, you know, this is it. And so I did that. And I didn't hear anything from the publishing house for a very long time. The literary agent got back to me and, you know, within a couple of weeks, she was like, yep, great, send me the full manuscript. And I thought, oh, hang on. So I did. I sent her the full manuscript. And then she had sort of said, you know, it's really great voice, unique story, not quite what I'm looking for at this time, which was totally fine. And it gave me lots of really great support and encouragement. And so I thought, oh, that was really good. The publishing house didn't get back to me. And I sort of thought there's this kind of rule. I don't know where I read it, but I read it somewhere that if you don't hear back within 3 months, then it's kind of, you know, don't expect anything. And so I hadn't heard anything back. And I thought, all right, don't worry about it. It's really good. I got some great feedback. I know that there are some people in the industry that think my story is good. They like my writing. What else can I do? Where can I go? I did a self-publishing course with Ellie Marnie, Australian author. She's a hybrid author as well. And that was fabulous to do that course. I got so much out of that course. And I left it feeling really empowered. And I thought, maybe this is the path that I need to take. And sort of at the same time, we got some health news about my mum, and it wasn't looking good at that stage. And mum was the one that introduced me to books and stories. And I thought to myself, you know what? I can actually do this. I can publish this myself, and mum can see it. She can hold a book. Her daughter had written a book, and that was kind of like my motivating factor. So I went through the whole process and I looked and found an editor. I mean, Ellie's course gave you all the resources that you needed to really make a good go of it. So I found an editor. I found a cover artist just online. That was the hardest one. I just sort of messaged her on Instagram, like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And so we kind of did that. And then about like a month or 2 months before I was ready to publish The Girl in the Sunflower Dress, the publishing house got back to me. And I'm like, oh,
you're like, too late.
I know. And then they said, then she was like, great, thanks for the 100 pages. I'd love to read the full manuscript. And I was like, I'd poured all this money into publishing it myself. I'd set everything up, put all this work into it. I had to really think about what I was going to do, because being a traditionally published author was always a dream and still is a dream of mine. But I was still really motivated by the fact that I wanted mum to have this copy of this book. And so I really thought about it. I spoke to my husband, spoke to my mum, what should I do? What should I do? And in the end, I decided to publish it by myself. And so I wrote back to the publishing house and I'm like, oh, thanks so much. That was really great. But I've sort of already gone through the motions of self-publishing, And she was really great about it. She was supportive. She said, oh, no worries. Good luck with it. I hope to hear a lot about you in the future. And, that's a decision that I'll always sort of sit with. Was it the right one? Who knows? I mean, just because she wanted the whole manuscript doesn't mean that it was ever going to, end up being a traditionally published book. But it was just really nice to know that this big publishing house was interested enough to read the full manuscript. And so I went through the motions of self-publishing and we got the book, and I really enjoyed the aspect of having lots of control. And I really enjoyed working to my own timeline as well, and going through that and realizing that I hadn't heard anything for like 6 months, and then all of a sudden they pop up going, yeah, we want it. I was like, oh, this publishing moves really slow, but I wanted to move really fast, especially because of my personal circumstances at the time. And so I did it, and I'm like, you know what, I can always go back. The door is not closed on traditional publishing. I don't have to be one or the other. I can be both. And so there's a lot of kind of satisfaction and happiness in that decision. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try some indie publishing for a little while, figure out where I sit, the sorts of stories I want to write, because I like to write lots of different things as well. I just, went with indie publishing, and now indie published A Holly Jolly Christmas, and this is where we are today.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I just absolutely love, like, everyone has a different story, but yours is extremely special. And exactly that, you have a connection there with the publisher now, and there's nothing to say that you can't approach her or him with different work in the future. Like, you can just say, hey, you touch base with me, this and that, I've got something else, and would you like to see it? Like, if they were interested before. But I haven't actually done the CYA conference. That's one I haven't done, but I see it all the time. And I take it, so you get these connections, but you don't, they have to contact you if they want to see you more? You don't actually get the emails to contact them, I suppose, to chase them up.
The way that it worked for me was that you had you obviously book in to see these people. So if you just attend the conference, you're just attending the workshops, but you had the choice of putting yourself in front of a range of different people. So I researched who they all were and figured out which would be best fit for my book at the time. You send off your 10 pages, and then you get feedback, and then you get a really short meeting. I want to say it's about 15 minutes-ish with them, and they go through the feedback and you talk about it, and they ask you a little bit about yourself and that kind of thing. And then they may say to you, thanks, that was really great, good luck. Or they'll say, send me revised pages, and you have their email address because they've sent you their feedback on your first 10 pages. So with that invitation, then you can obviously contact them with further stuff. And so, I still am in contact with that publisher. We follow each other online, and who knows what the future's going to hold.
Yeah, that's it. And it's what I absolutely love about hybrid publishing authorship as well, is just because I'm the same as yourself, find traditional publishing is very slow and takes a long time. So in the meantime, if you are an impatient person like myself, and also like yourself who, you want to write a variety of different things. And I tend to have ideas that I'm like, I wouldn't even bother traditional publishing with, because I think it wouldn't be something that fits their market or something, that right off the bat. Whereas there's some I'm like, yeah, that would probably work for them better. And you can go down that route, because I've heard, especially with traditional publishing, they maybe want to sort of pigeonhole you into one area. So maybe you could be traditional represented for one idea and go with them for that, and then go to town on independent publishing with all your other ideas. So it's good. It's the best of both worlds.
We're so lucky to be able to have the opportunity and the avenues to be able to do that. I think indie publishing has come a long way over the years. And, you know, I think back to people like Matthew Riley, who's one of Australia's biggest selling authors. He started out publishing his own books back in, oh God, do I want to say the 90s or 2000s, when it was really tricky and really expensive. And now, you know, now look at him. He sells millions of copies of his books, has written and directed a movie and all that sort of thing. So we're just lucky that in this industry that we have those two options, and neither one is better than the other. As long as you're getting your art and your craft out there for people to read, then that's great.
That's it. It's just it's a matter of just suiting the individual and go for gold, I suppose. So I've got to say, did you use a different artist for Holly Jolly Christmas cover? Because I absolutely, or is it the same for both?
No, different artist, and no reason why, you know, there was nothing wrong. Who did my cover for The Girl in the Sunflower Dress, did a brilliant job, and I absolutely love that cover. I was just after a different style of art this time round, and again, same way, I just kind of trawled through Instagram and started looking at other indie authors and where they were getting their covers, because, you know, you always tag people when they help you out. And so I found a few people, and I really loved Melody's work. So Melody Jeffries did my cover for Holly Jolly Christmas. I love what she was doing, and so I just messaged her and I said, hey,
it's amazing.
Curious, you know, do you make book covers and how much do you cost and and she got back with me, and she was really excited to work on something so different, because again, she lives in America, and so she was doing a lot of White Christmas covers, so she was really excited to try something different. And I must admit, I had no idea what I wanted going in. When I did the cover for Girl in the Sunflower Dress, I kind of had a really strong idea of what that cover was going to look like, but this one I had no idea, because I hadn't really seen any books that were summer and Christmas. So I had no kind of reference point. Mel did a great job of kind of turning my rambled thoughts into such a beautiful cover.
Yeah, the cover's a knockout. Like I've seen it everywhere, all over social media, and it's very different. Like I love the no faces.
Yeah. I know, I like that too. I must admit, I used to find that kind of art a little bit creepy, but I've really grown to love it. And so now we did it. We've sort of played around with faces. Should they have eyebrows? What should we do? But the way it kind of has ended up is just, perfect. And I love it. She's done an amazing job.
She has, that's it. So obviously, you know, independently publishing, so it's all working for yourself. What about the marketing? How have you found that? Is that kind of new to, because obviously with the writing and stuff, you are a teacher, you know, you knew the craft. It was more learning the publishing process, which you did. So did you go out to learn the marketing process, or you just kind of watched what others were doing and set sail?
Yeah, it was. I do follow, there's a few indie authors that I really kind of admire and look up to, and sort of just watching what they do. But also too, I'm not great at kind of talking myself up either. I'm not very good at that stuff. So I have gone and learned. I have taken a course with another indie author. Her name's Sarah Cannon, and she does a course called Publish and Thrive. And oh my goodness, that is worth every single penny that you can put into that. And she goes through the whole gamut of things, from your idea to the finished book. And the course itself, once you've sort of signed up for it, you kind of have lifetime access, and there's heaps of modules, and it's fantastic. And so I have looked at her, you know, marketing things and how to market your books and all that sort of stuff. But I also find that being, you know, trying to hold down a full-time job, raising a family, and this is my, you know, my side hustle, if you like, that I would love one day to be my full-time job, but at the moment it's not. So I just kind of have to do what I can when I can. And so I just take especially Sarah's advice on board and what some other authors are doing, and I just kind of make it work for me. Like, I don't have all the time in the world to sit down and create beautiful graphics and reels and all this sort of stuff. And if you look at my social media pages, it's a very real social media page. I don't dress up, I don't wear makeup, it's all just, oh, quick, I've got 5 minutes, I'll make something, put it together, chuck it up, hope for the best. which I'm not sure if that's really good advice or a good game plan.
Yeah, I think it is though, because you can get so easily stressed out, I think, with everything that you have on your plate and you feel like you have to do it all, but you should just do what works best for you rather than spreading yourself thin and then maybe nothing working at all and burning out. Although I had a guest on once and he told me burnout's bullshit. I don't say bullshit, but burnout's bullshit. So I kept that in my mind. Yeah, no, I think that's great. You do what works for you and you'll enjoy it more then rather than resent it. Or
yeah, I think so too. I think you've got to have a bit of fun with it as well. And I don't like social media. It can be really fun. It can be really draining. And I think for me and the way that I work and my brain works, if I have all these things set up and I've got to meet this certain timeline and I've got to try this graphic and I've got to do this reel and do this, audio, and it's too overwhelming and I just can't do it. And all I want to do is sit down and write. That's all I want to do. I don't want to be wasting my time on social media. It's not a waste of time because it does get people to see your books and get to know you, but I prefer to just be writing them. So I think my marketing strategy is not really a strategy at all. It's just, I'm just going to do what I can when I can and hope that, my book finds its way. And I mean, there are things, you make connections with people and you ask bookstagrammers and things like that to read your book as ARC readers or share your cover reveals and little things like that I suppose you could call a bit of a strategy. But for the most part, I'm making it up as I go along and what I feel like kind of doing on the day.
No, that's awesome. No, I love that. Absolutely. So from your social media, I have seen that you're quite involved with, is it Farrell's Bookshop? Is that your local bookstore? That looks just darling. It looks lovely. I've only got a big chain QBD.
Oh yeah, look, I love my local bookshop, Farrell's. Farrell's is like an institution down here on the peninsula. They've been around forever. Personally, for myself, I'm a big supporter of supporting local. So I love to support my local businesses. And I've always been a customer there. It's just a community feel. When you walk in, everybody is so friendly and will chat with you about books. And it's a nice feel when you walk in. It's like you take a deep breath and you go, I'm amongst my people. Yeah. And it's just really nice. And so with lockdown again, I started an ill-fated blog, decided, we're in lockdown. What else can I do? I'll start a blog, like as if I don't have enough on my hands with trying to remote teach my own students and remote teach my own kids and write books, and why not start a blog, So I did, and I interviewed a few authors and I interviewed Kate Horton at Farrell's and talking about the bookshop, and I think that just kind of took our relationship to the next level, if you like, and it was really great. And throughout lockdown, I just was supporting them where I could, sharing their posts, buying books from them as I always would, because, we want to keep our bookshops in our communities. And lockdown was so hard on so many businesses and I just didn't want to see them go down. So I just did what I could to support them. Not that my efforts saved anything or anything like that, but I just wanted to do what I could. And, when you love something so much, like your bookshop and your community, do what you can. So just supporting them, they got to know my face. I got to know more of their faces. And then when I had the girl in the sunflower dress, I just thought, you know what? I'll just ask them. Like, the worst they can say is no. And then I'm in no different position than what I'm already in. So I emailed them and I said, hey, would you be interested? Is this something that you even do? And Susie there sort of said, yeah, sure. Like, pop it on down. We'll take a look at it and we'll see where we go from there. And I was like, oh, great. Fantastic. Okay. So I went down there and I dropped my book in and, feeling on top of the world. And I thought, you know what, this is great. They're just going to look at it. How amazing is this? And then she got back to me. She's like, all right, we'll stock it. We'll start with 5 copies. And I was like, oh, what? This is amazing. Because, when I'm supporting them online, I'm not expecting anything back. That's not what it's about at all for me. People that know me well know that I'm the biggest cheerleader. I would cheer you on no matter what you're doing, and I don't expect that back in return. It's just the person, just who I am. And so when they looked at it and they ordered these 5 copies, I thought, great, if I can just sell 5 copies, how amazing is this? Mum's health started to improve, which was really great as well. So she got to see it, not only have a copy of it, but she got to see it on the bookshelf. And I thought, yeah, I made the right decision. We went away, so it kind of got released April 2021. And so we had come out of lockdown a little bit. So we quickly flew up to Sydney to see family who we hadn't seen in ages. And within a couple of days, Farrell's had sold all 5 copies. And I was like, wow, my goal was just to try and sell at least one of those. I thought I'd have really, a lot of work to do to try and sell the 5. And I thought, well, that's great. So then they ordered more copies and then they sold out really quickly. And I thought, oh, who's buying these copies? What's going on? But it was just really lovely because I was obsessively kind of tracking it, and people would tell me, hey, I went down and brought your book. And then all of a sudden, Farrell's kept asking for more and more books. And I was actually in class with one of my students and she's like, oh, I saw your book and I saw that it's a bestseller at Farrell's. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, on the website, they have this thing up about bestsellers. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I went and had a look, and The Girl in the Sunflower Dress was on their YA top 10 bestsellers, and it was there for like 4 months against some really big name books. And so I was quite chuffed with that, and I was really proud of myself. And, I've forgotten how many copies now that we ended up doing, but it was just such a reaffirming, just a really great experience to have. And not only for myself as an author, but also that people were going into my local bookshop and buying my book and supporting my local bookshop as well. So
that's it. What you set out to do by supporting them, you have done through your writing, which is just fabulous, giving back to each other. That's great. Have you found the same with the Holly Jolly Christmas? Did you have like a launch there and same things happening?
I haven't had a launch. One day I would love to have a launch at Farrell's. That would be amazing. I actually went to Sally Hepworth's launch or talk of her new book, The Soulmate, there, and I sat there and I loved listening to her, and I thought, oh, one day I would love this to be me. Have a big sellout event. That'd be great. But no, with the Holly Jolly Christmas, because it's a novellas, they're a bit tricky to sell, and I actually wasn't going to ask Farrell's if they wanted to stock it. And then everyone kept asking me, like, where can we get it from? Can we get it from Farrell's? So I was like, oh, I'll just ask them. The worst I could say is no. So I messaged Susie and I'm like, look, don't feel pressured. Don't feel like you have to say yes. I know novellas are really hard to sell, but would you be interested in stocking this one? And she was like, oh, I've closed commissions for the year, but bring it down. I'll have a look. And then she was like, yep, okay, we'll stock it. And so they've started off with 5 copies down there, and they've only had them for a couple of days. So I haven't heard how they've gone yet. I haven't even had a chance to go in and see it on the shelf yet. So that's my task for this afternoon, is to go down and have a look. So, it's about making those genuine connections and just asking the question and putting yourself out there. Like I said, the worst they can say is no. And then, okay, well, that's fine. No pressure. That's absolutely totally fine. Yep. And I'm in no worse position than I already am. There's online and things like that, and other bookshops can order you books in, even if you're an indie published author. But it's really nice to see it on the bookshelf. That is really something super special.
Oh, I bet. I absolutely bet. And we'll look out for that post on social media when you go down there. Yeah. So
it's coming.
Yeah, that's it. Holly Jolly Christmas, you said you read lots of White Christmas winter books. Are these the sort of books that you like reading? Is there, I don't know what the word is, I guess, a trope to write a sort of Christmas themed rom-com? But is it more just there's some good times, but there's lots of fails in it, and then generally there's a love story? Or, what do readers expect if they pick up these types of books, Christmas themed rom-coms?
I definitely think they expect a happily ever after. Nobody wants a sad story at Christmas time. No one wants a sad rom-com anyway, do they? Everyone wants a happily ever after type thing. Yeah, I guess just that happily ever after. And I think the lead up to Christmas can be just as fun and special to read as the Christmas day itself. It's almost like the Christmas day itself kind of gets a bit lost in a lot of that, because it's always the lead up to it. And it's kind of like the romance, isn't it? It's the lead up to the romance, and Christmas does have a romantic element to it. We romanticize it. So it's that lead up to the Christmas. So I think readers definitely expect that. And I think they expect, a white Christmas. So I think if anyone else is thinking of writing books, don't be afraid to kind of smash that idea of having it set in a white Christmas kind of setting. Like, I think as long as you've got that happily ever after aspect, I feel like it's, all bets off. Do what you can. Yeah,
and I think you've got quite a lot to play with as well. I think with summer Christmas, as in all I keep thinking of is burning, people's faces burning from the sun and sun cream and awkwardness, and it may be quite fun to sort of add it in. Gonna say, did you put in lots of your own like experiences?
I can answer that one. I did because my husband he's like, I'm not going to read it until it's in the book form. You know, I want to read it once it's all finished. And I was like, that's fine. So he read it, and as he was reading it, he was laughing at certain parts because he goes, that's you. You've just put yourself in there. That's, you know, da, da, da. And even he was telling me last night that his boss has started reading it too. And there's a section in there where Holly is complaining about the air conditioning. She only has evaporative cooling. And down here in Melbourne, we get a lot of humid heat. So in the humid heat, your evaporative cooling does not work. And essentially it makes the house sticky, and we have floorboards. So your floorboards get all slimy and it's horrible. And so I actually put that in the book as part of something that went wrong for her and that she was complaining about. And my husband's boss had said to him, because he'd been complaining about it to him. So kind of had a bit of a chuckle about that. So you always sort of put little aspects of yourself in there. And I think that's kind of what makes it so relatable. Like even I talk about in the book, the fire trucks coming around Christmas Eve and even the day before. We often have fire trucks coming around to our communities with Santa on board, and they throw lollies out to the kids, and everyone lines up in the street. And if it's a really hot day, sometimes they, you know, get the hose out and they wet you, and it's a lot of fun. So I sort of put that in there too. So a lot of those sorts of experiences, I think make it relatable, make it fun.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's gorgeous. So tips there, write what you know from personal experience. Like you said, it does provide personal connection, and others can connect with you too on that, which I think is really gorgeous. Do you have any other tips for authors looking to write a Christmas rom-com for the first, Christmas themed rom-com for the first time? Because, I suppose, Christmas themed rom-com, it's got to be set at Christmas, isn't it? Or we could have Christmas in July.
Oh yeah, you could do a Christmas in July one, couldn't you?
That could be your sequel.
A holly jolly Christmas in July.
Yeah, I love it.
I think take on your experience of what you've experienced yourself at Christmas time, or things that you've watched or heard of, and put those sorts of things in. But I think try and keep the drama, the big dramatic moments, I guess, to a minimum. In rom-coms, you really only want that kind of one big climactic, dramatic kind of moment. It can have drama, but I think in a rom-com, it's kind of got to be a little bit funny drama, like things going wrong or that miscommunication kind of trope thing there. But generally, I think when people sit down to read a Christmas story or a Christmas rom-com, they want laughs, they want happiness, they want to just kind of escape into a bit of a hallmarky type, thing, and just feel good at the end of reading a story. Because at the holidays season, everybody wants to feel good. You're celebrating sort of the end of the year, and so that's what they want from their reads. Well, at least that's what I want from my Christmas reads when I'm reading them. So I think definitely that happily ever after. Definitely don't discount the lead up to Christmas and that tension in the lead up to Christmas, because that is just as exciting. And I think some people even find Christmas Day can be a bit of a letdown, because it's all the excitement in leading up to Christmas Day. We get to go shopping and things come out, and there's the Santa photos, and there's all these wonderful things happening. And then Christmas Day happens, and it's like all that excitement is over, and we have like a month or 2 months build up to it. So I think definitely think about that space when you're writing about it, that kind of lead up to the actual day.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there, because it is such a lead up and a build up, isn't it? And that's that. And then on Christmas Day, it like whizzes by, because you've got to go to a million different people's houses sometimes, and then you sit down stressed and exhausted, and it's like, what the hell was that? But no, that's a good point. And I love, like, although it sounds like you've read a lot, you've put a lot of research in, you really are sort of turning in on yourself to think, well, what would I like in here? What would be nice? What do I want to see happen and stuff? And big focus on the romance. So Christmas themed is just the setting almost, and events that happen, but really to push two people together.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's sort of, holiday time, Christmas time is all about that coming together of people that you love, being around people that mean something to you. So no matter where you are, whether it's a white Christmas or a stinking hot, sweltering Australian summer, there is some element of romance to it, and getting people together and having that emphasis on that romance and that romance and that idea of it all coming together at that time, I think is really special.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing. And so is all the tips you've shared with us today, Katie. It's been absolutely fantastic. So I just finally, do you have any tips for people looking to be a hybrid author? You've had the choice, I suppose, and you've made a conscious decision. So
yeah, I think it's all about doing your research, isn't it? So it's all about finding out what path suits you at this moment in time in your writing career. And I loved you had Sarah Epstein on a little while ago, and she spoke about it being, this career is a marathon, not a sprint. So it's all about, and I really liked that. So for me, it's all about, well, what suits you in the now, and knowing that the doors are not shut. If you choose one path, the door to the other path is not shut. You can always go between the two. So I think it's about doing your research, taking those opportunities. Like if you can afford to go to conferences and put yourself in front of editors and publishing houses, take that opportunity, take on board what they're saying, do some of these great courses that are out there. We have heaps that are run by like the Writers Centre in Victoria here. And thanks to COVID, I guess, a lot of things have become online. So it makes it so much easier to get to, because I know I always found it really tricky to get to those things. So things are online. It makes it so much easier. So I think taking those sorts of opportunities is really important. And I think putting yourself into the two different communities and kind of championing other authors, cheer everybody on. There's so much space on the shelves for all of us. I really believe that. And I believe in cheering each other on. We all work so hard in writing these books, so we need to be lifting each other up. Good, what's the word I'm looking for? Like author citizen, and help each other out, cheer each other on. If you're finding things are taking too long, then take it into your own hands and see what you can do about that. See what avenues can you take. Can you take a course about indie publishing? Can you take a course about writing, marketing? Can you, take on writing opportunities? Is there some sort of avenue to write articles for places and do a bit of freelance work? So I think it's always just trying, always learning and taking up opportunities and creating your own opportunities too. Like put yourself out there. You can only ask the question and people are either going to say yes or no. So you haven't got a whole lot to lose.
Yeah. Oh no, that's beautiful and really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also, please share with us, where can our listeners find you on and offline, everywhere? Obviously, Farrell's bookstore, other places as well.
Yeah, so I'm most active on my Instagram account, which is at author_Katie Montinaro. I have tried TikTok. Oh my goodness, I am not good for TikTok. I don't know what I am doing over there, but I do have that. I've toyed with the idea of a newsletter, so I'm definitely going to be starting up a newsletter. There's the website, so katiemontinaro.com.au. But book-wise, you can find my books anywhere. So like Amazon, Apple, Kobo, all of those places. Your local bookshops can order the books in as well. If you go in and say, hey, can you order me this book? Your local libraries can order the books in. So I'm everywhere, man.
That's it. Oh, well, thank you so much, Katie. That was amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
So there you have it, folks, the utterly honest and super stunning Katie Montinaro to brighten up our Christmas with her fabulous tips for rom-com Christmas writers and with her novella, A Holly Jolly Christmas. It's a great stocking filler, so go out and get your copy as you've just heard how. Next time on the Hybrid Author Podcast, we have author entrepreneur extraordinaire Orna Ross, who is an Irish novelist and poet, as well as a podcaster and advocate for the Alliance of Independent Authors. And she's going to be talking to us on annual planning for creatives. I wish you well in your author venture this next week. That's it for me. It's bye for now. That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.